Hello, Sheldon McDonald here with another episode of Exploring Assembly Language. So this will be exploring number 5. We're going to cut this into two parts because this is kind of a bigger topic. And this topic will be converting bytes into human readable text. Okay. Um, so on this first one, we're going to just be building the core, which will be adding two strings together. That'll be the basis of our program. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and load the RS-DOS tool. This is what I'm using. Okay. You should be using version 1.31 or newer. Okay. Um, all right. So let's start off by originating at 3000. Okay. We have a start and an end to our start. So let's start off by creating two strings. Okay. So I need so we'll call the first string. I just take this out of caps mode here. Num_st1 will be the first string, and num_st2 can be the second string. Okay. These are going to be FCN statements. So you need a compiler that can handle that kind of opcode. Okay. We're going to be adding 6 digits together. Okay. So this one will also be a FCN and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So let's just throw any bogus number in here. I mean, whatever, right? Let's put a 1 and a 9 so we can do some carryover. Okay. So we'll add those. We're going to add those two together, and basically we're going to make it so it's still human readable. Okay. Obviously, if you add those two strings together, well, it's not going to be human readable. So we need to make a program that does it. So let's make a subroutine now. So we're going to call this string A. Okay. We're going to end up using all three registers. We're going to use X, Y, and U. X and Y are going to reference, or sorry, Y and U are going to reference these two strings, and I'm going to use X to reference the other string when we start expanding on this main core function. Okay, but we're going to build the core of it first. So normally these would be populated with zeros, but let's get started. Okay. So the first thing we need to do, we need to load the U register. We're going to load that with num_st1. Okay. So we're loading that first string in. And in fact, I'm going to just move this so it's underneath. Let's work underneath these functions. Or sorry, these labels. Okay, so we've loaded that in. Now we want to load Y. We're going to load Y with the other string, so num_st2. Okay, so we got both of those strings referenced. Okay. Now what we need to do is create a counter because we want to count backwards and we want to go through each one of those digits. So we'll load B. We'll load B with the number 6. Okay. And now we'll create a start tag kind of for our loop. We'll call it strlp1. So the first thing we'll do is decrease B in that loop. And we'll load A, B, and U. And then we're going to add A, B, and Y. So let's look at this. What have I done here? So I started off with the number 6. We decreased it. Now we're sitting at 5. So that means I'm sitting right here. So this is the 0 location. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're dealing with these digits right here. Okay? So first thing I'm doing is I'm loading A, which is U, which is number 1. So I'm loading that 9. Then I'm adding this Y. And I wish it was that simple, but there's more to it. Now we need to get it back into a human readable character. So we need to actually subtract A, number 48. And the reason why we're subtracting 48, let's look at our little handy tool here, this converter. If you type 0 in, the ASC code for that is 48. And if you type in 9, the high range of that will be 57. So you'll see me reference those numbers a bit. I'll actually be referencing 1 over, which will be 58. Okay. So this is the reason why I'm subtracting 48, because it is way out of range. Okay. So now we've subtracted A. Now we want to store it. So let's store A at B and Y. Okay, so we've stored the result. Now we need to check for carry. Okay, I'm just going to put those notes there. So now we need to check for a carry because let's face it, 9 plus 3 is going to generate a carry, right? So let's do some testing. Let's compare A to the number 58, and that's where I've said we've gone out of range. If we write 9, it's 57. We go to the next character, it's 58. So 58, we're testing that it's out of range. Okay. So we can branch higher or same. We'll make a label called str S0, and we can make another label called, so we'll branch always to strs1. So before we get into this, let's code strs0, and then I'll go back to this one, okay? So strs0. So if the result is greater, so if it comes here, that means there's a carry to process, okay? If it ends up falling through, which is here, then there's no carry. So I'm just going to write no carry, okay? So at this point, there must be a carry, okay? So first thing we need to do, we need to subtract 10. So sub A, the number, oh, Saba, sub A, the number 10. So we're going to subtract 10 from it. Okay. We're going to store A at B and Y. Okay. Now, what we've done is we've changed this value to equal 0. Okay. Not necessarily, actually. If there's a carry, or sorry, if there's, so for example on this one, 9 plus 3, it's going to have a 2 left over. So what's going to happen is it'll, right here, it's subtracted 10 from that value, so it'll be dropping the number 2 into that place, okay? So now we're going to compare B to the number 0, okay? If it's equal, so BEQ equal, then we better go to strs1, which is at the end of the program where it does no carry, okay? So BEQ, so we're comparing B. So what does that mean? I'm actually checking to see if we're at this digit. If we're trying to do a carry, we're already maxed out. Okay, we can't do a carry. We're maxed out on this value. That's why we're exiting, we're going to the no carry. Okay? That it's just going to be the end because we can no longer make that number any bigger. Okay. So now we've fallen through and there is a carry. So what we need to do is we need to decrease B. Okay. So that'll put us into this position where we're looking at these numbers. Okay. Now I want to LDA the number 1. Okay. And then I'm going to add that because that's our carry. Add A. We're going to add A to B and U. Okay. And then we can store it. Store A, B, and U. And then we can increase B. And the reason being is that we have a main loop that I'm about to code here that's going to decrease B. And since we've decreased B already, we best be going back to where we were before it goes to decrease it again. Okay, you can see at the very top here it's decreasing it in our loop. So we need to put it back to where it was. Okay. Okay, now we're at that no carry finally. Okay, so STRS1. So now we're branching always here because there was no carry, or we're branching to no carry because we're at the end of our number and we can't carry it anywhere, right? Okay, so we're going to compare B to the number 0 again. If it's B high, so branch higher to STRLP1. So if that number is greater than 0, we can go all the way up here and subtract a number and start working on the next digit. Okay? And if it falls through, then we can return from subroutine. At this point, we'll be done. Okay? So we're going to add those two strings together. Alright, and this is why I'm splitting this video up into 2 parts. This is the first part, just adding strings together. The second part will be expanding it and testing for bits, okay, in order to convert 2 bytes into a human readable string. Okay, so to make this easier, right now I would have to code a little routine to be able to print that string to the screen. I don't want to have to go through that. I've already done that on one of the last episodes of printing text to the screen. So I'm actually going to do something called loading a function library in, and you can only do that on my editor. Okay, so let's go include tab smd basic.txt, and what that'll do, and it's got to be at the start of your program, that'll bring a library in. I'm going to click on help here to initially bring that library in. I'm going to hit smd basic and hit open. Okay, you can see down here it's brought in 3 commands in that library, and that library is going to continue to grow. In fact, I'm going to be making a command that summarizes what we're doing today into a command. So you won't even technically need to know what I've done here because there'll be a function for it. But I still want to explain it. Okay. So this is what my function library does to speed things up big time. Now we can go CLS1. We're going to clear the screen green, and we're going to print to the screen. We're going to print capital letters starting, and we're going to print at the start of the screen. So we'll put 0, and in brackets I'm going to put the num st2 into that function. Okay. So that'll print that number into the screen, those 2 strings that we added. Okay, and again, I could take the time to code this to do it in assembly, but that's not the point of this. Right now I'm teaching, making a human readable bytes into bytes into human readable string. Okay, so that's why we're going to use my function. Okay. Another thing we can write in, we can use all three of those functions. We can say inky string, and we can beq to key, and then we can return from subroutine, which will actually return to basic. Okay. Okay, so actually I made two errors. I just cut into this video. So I forgot that when you're adding two strings, you need to also subtract 48. So if we put 48 in here, yeah, we're subtracting the zero number. So when you add two strings together, so I've put this in, okay? I've added subtract A, 48. So I'm going to hide that in the code now. And I also forgot to jump to the subroutine to actually do the math, to actually add the two strings together. So now we should have these two strings adding together. So let's go ahead and save this. We'll assemble it and save this to disk. Okay, and then we'll load VCC in. Again, make sure you've got the right disk image loaded. Load M test. Okay, and we can execute that. And you can see that it's added our strings together. Okay. So let's have a quick look at that. So our two strings were 1019 plus 143. So that looks good. It added them together. So in the next video I'm going to do, we're going to expand on this, and then we're going to actually get it to convert our bytes, our 2 bytes into a human readable string. And then I'll also make it so it chops off the extra zeros, so you're not printing numbers that aren't there. Okay. So that'll be in the next video that I'm doing. We'll see you there. Thanks.